Well, I think that the opera houses are in good hands and they are safe in that audiences will always need theatres to see this repertoire in. That's not to say that opera isn't sometimes spectacular when it's done outside of a traditional theatre scenario. Not every piece, but certain pieces with brilliant directors can come alive in different spaces. But there is clearly a space for opera to be done in the theatre, as there is a space for theatre to be done in the theatre and ballet to be done in the theatre. And I think it's wonderful actually to have the Colosseum and the Opera House both there in London, not necessarily as rivals, but just promoting a wealth of the art form, and obviously the more people who get involved the better. I suppose if I had anything to add, I suppose it's interesting the model that these opera houses in London work with, which is different to some of the models in some of the European opera houses. The one that comes to mind is the German kind of Festhaus model, which is when you have singers who are on contract, a salary ostensibly.
Company members.
Yes, and you are involved in everything that's happening, and so suddenly there'll be a Don Giovanni that has been ongoing for 2 or 3 years, and actually it's your turn to jump into the role of Donna Anna, and you've got 3 days to get up to speed. Or then there might be a guest principal that comes in, and they're doing Pelléas Mélisande, but you've got a week to have a look at it and get on with it. It's not quite the same, although they do new productions, but it's not quite the same as the British system, which tends to have this rehearsal, production, rehearsal, production, rehearsal, production. But I suppose there are interesting conversations to be had about whether there's a more efficient model which has, if I say opera on a conveyor belt, I don't mean that in that way, but the sort of ongoing performance aspect of opera performances, and whether there's something that opera houses will have to look at in the future. But I mean, I can't see them abandoning their posts, and we wouldn't want them to.